All right, welcome to JD's Prep. So a student designed an experiment to investigate a claim that athletes would have lower heart rates than non-athletes during exercise. So first, students classified themselves in an athlete or non-athlete. Their resting pulses were determined. Then all the students performed the same exercise for 4 minutes. Their heart rates were determined by recording the pulse rate in beats per minute. The students continued to measure their pulse rate for an additional 4 minutes. So we can see here that we have a resting pulse for athletes and non-athletes, exercising period of 4 minutes with pulse rates, and then after exercise for another 10 minutes. So the average heart rate per minute for each group is determined, and that's what this data is. So first we're asked to state one appropriate hypothesis for this experiment. So an appropriate hypothesis is that athletes would have, if athletes perform the same physical activity as a non-athlete, they would have a lower heart rate during that exercise, or something along those lines. All right, so let's look at the data that we were given with these statements, because they're asking which statement is best supported by the data in the chart. Okay, so after exercise, the non-athletic students had a lower heart rate than the athletic students. So after exercise, the non-athletic students had lower heart rates than the athlete students. That is not correct. Okay. After exercise, the heart rates of the athletic students return to resting pulse in 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, 68, and resting pulse 68. Okay, that does look correct, but let's look at the other options. During exercise, both groups of students had the same increase above their resting pulse. We have from 68 up to 100, and then from 72 up to 100, well, 130, 125. That's definitely not true. Okay, it went up more for the non-athlete students. And during exercise, the athletic students had a higher heart rate than the non-athletic students. So looking at the numbers during exercise for the athletes versus the non-athletes, and every time it's higher for the non-athletes. So that also is definitely wrong. So our correct answer is number 2. And lastly, we're being asked, how can we improve the validity of the conclusion? So the students should repeat the experiment. They should definitely not disregard data that doesn't fit the hypothesis, because that would be messing up your data. They should not bring in males and females, because that's not their hypothesis. This would be removing a control by having them do different exercises. Definitely just with a larger number of athletes and non-athletes, because a larger sample size will always improve the validity of any conclusions reached. All right, thank you for using JD's Prep.